Located in the southeast corner of Portland, Oregon, Oaks Park, the northwest answer to Coney Island, attracts thousands of families in the spring and summer. In the winter, however, when only the roller rink is open, families are attracted to a special event, a Northwest Rail fan tradition since 2005. This year is particularly important as what has been known as the Stand Your Black 5 of the Oregon Rail Heritage Foundation is making her last stand. Spokane, Portland, and Seattle Class E1 Northern, number 700, was built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and placed into service on the SP&S in May of 1941. The wheel arrangement is a 4-8-4, meaning that the locomotive has 4 pilot wheels at the front, 8 drivers, each wheel being 77 inches in diameter, and a 4-wheel trailing truck in the back to support the firebox and cab. The Spokane, Portland, and Seattle was a subsidiary of the Great Northern and Northern Pacific Railroads, essentially being the inspiration for the eventual merger to become the Burlington Northern, and later on the Burlington Northern Santa Fe. The 700 and her 2 sisters, 701 and 702, pulled freight and passenger trains like the Great Northern's Empire Builder and Northern Pacific's North Coast Limited. In 1956, with diesels becoming a cheaper and more fuel-efficient alternative, the 700 was retired and donated to Oaks Park in Portland, Oregon for display, after running a Farewell to Steam passenger special. After 30 years of dormancy, the 700 was restored to operating condition in 1990 by the nonprofit Pacific Railroad Preservation Association with funding by the Burlington Northern, 16 years after SP's 4449's restoration. Since then, the 76-year-old steam locomotive has operated all over the Northwest, pulling various excursions, like a doubleheader with Southern Pacific 4449 during the 2005 NRHS National Convention, and a steam across Montana excursion in 2002 from Sandpoint, Idaho to Billings, Montana and return. The 700 is one of about 90 pieces of railway equipment on the National Register of Historic Places, being added on January 25, 2006. 2014 will mark the last year for the 700, as it will undergo a mandatory FRA 15-year overhaul starting in January. The Oregon Rail Heritage Foundation's Holiday Express is run in conjunction with the Oregon Pacific Railroad and operates on the southmost part of the Shoreline Railroad. Here we see the train depart Oaks Park behind the 700.
Where they stop up here?
Stop.
I guess we can go up to the end of here. Unless you want to go back over there.
Probably not this way.
Not only are we trackside, but we're also on board the train as well. Our camera is viewing from round end observation car number 2955, previously named after one James J. Gilmore. After reaching the entrance to Oaks Park Way, the train will now run backward to the north entrance of Springwater on the Willamette Trail, which the line parallels until it becomes the corridor.
see what it used to be like and what it was all history behind it.
Sunday. You know what I mean?
I had you go in there for a second?
I heard it messes around with the altimeter, but
Before we head back to the park, let's explore the Oregon Rail Heritage Center, also known as the Doyle L. McCormick Engine House. Located a short walk north of the trail entrance, this working museum opened in 2012 on the grounds of the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. A working turntable is still in the works, but there are pieces of railroad equipment on display, both outside and inside. Throughout the Holiday Express trips, the Oregon Pacific Railroad offered speeder rides in conjunction with the North American Railcar Operators Association. Here we see two of them from behind the engine house. Walking into the facility, visitors are greeted by the other locomotives in the Oregon Rail Heritage Foundation's collection. Nickel Plate Road PA number 190 was built by the American Locomotive Company in Schenectady, New York in 1948 as Santa Fe number 62-L. After pulling passenger trains over the Santa Fe and Delaware and Hudson networks, number 18, as it was then known, was retired to Mexico before being acquired by Doyle McCormick. The PA is now being restored into a replica of the original 190 that was built months earlier in the same year as this one. Despite not being operational, the 190 took in the spotlight earlier this year at Streamliners at Spencer in North Carolina.
We always bought the top wall as well. And we were lucky to have a company that had the money to do this, And I was always going to training and capacity planner. And Charles Schwab, the discount program.
Next to the PA is one of the Foundation's major projects. Oregon Railroad and Navigation Class P2 number 197 was built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and placed into service in May of 1905. The wheel arrangement is a 4-6-2, meaning that the locomotive has 4 pilot wheels at the front, 6 drivers, each wheel being 77 inches in diameter, and a 2-wheel trailing truck in the back to support the firebox and cab. After 52 years of service for the Oregon Railroad and Navigation Company and the Union Pacific Railroad, the 197 was retired and donated to Oaks Park in Portland for display. The locomotive was moved out of the park by the nonprofit Friends of the OR&N 197 in 1995 and has been undergoing restoration ever since. The facility sits near the Union Pacific Main Line, giving rail fans a good train spotting location. Here we see a northbound intermodal piggyback train. But no visit to the center would be complete without seeing its most famous resident. Southern Pacific Class GS4 number 4449 was built by the Lima Locomotive Works in Lima, Ohio, and placed into service in May of 1941. The wheel arrangement is a 4-8-4, meaning that the locomotive has 4 pilot wheels at the front, 8 drivers, each wheel being 80 inches in diameter, and a 4-wheel trailing truck in the back to support the firebox and cab. The 44, 49, and 49 other Golden State Class engines pulled several daylight trains, so called because they made the trip during the daylight hours on the Southern Pacific Network. The arrival of cheaper and more fuel-efficient diesels, like the Alco PAs and EMD-F units, marked the end of steam on the Southern Pacific daylight trains. In 1957, after 16 years of service, the 4449 was retired and sent to Oaks Park in southeast Portland the very next year for display, along with the 700 and the 197. After 16 years of dormancy, the 4449 was dragged into the now demolished Brooklyn Roundhouse in Portland for restoration. In 1975, wearing the colors of the American flag, the 4449 pulled the bicentennial Freedom Train across the westmost part of the United States. Since the 1980s, the 4449 has headed railfan trips, including making an appearance at Train Festival 2009 in Owasso, Michigan. The 4449 is currently undergoing required Federal Railway Administration's 15-year rebuild, with expectations of returning this spring or summer of 2015. Back on the Holiday Express, Santa Claus has passed out candy canes as the train heads back to Oaks Park.
You want to sit down here?
Back at the park, the speeder awaits the train and the next set of passengers. coverage of this holiday tradition end here, as we wish the Pacific Railroad Preservation Association good luck in the overhaul.
And thanks for coming. Yeah.